You know, I want to talk about this concept of being for something in the abstract. And that is this glorified notion that certain people are for certain groups. And I had thought about this concept a lot, but really I began to think about it again after I watched American Anarchist's video called Defending the Left. You know, a lot of people say, and he goes into it in his video, that the left in this country has always been for certain people. But it does no good to have a warm and fuzzy place in your heart for somebody if the policies and proposals that you support will ultimately be detrimental to those very people. You know, he talks about the left has a strong tradition of being for consumers. But the left in this country has also a history of being for more government regulation, which drives up prices for consumers. And they actually get less of the things that they need. And so, in their heart, they may be sincere about wanting to help consumers avoid certain risks, but they're ultimately failures at even preventing the risks, and their intervention and interference makes the products more expensive for the consumers and less readily available. So that doesn't really help consumers. You know, he says the left has traditionally been for workers, yet the minimum wage laws actually result in fewer people being employed, especially the low-skilled and uneducated. That's a tradition, a strong component in the platform of the left in this country for many years, since FDR. You know, there's strong alignment with unions. There's strong alignment with unions. Hurts workers. In general, it leads to lower wages for the overall population of workers, and it leads to higher wages for a small section of the population of workers. And it results in less jobs overall. So the left can say they're for workers, but the policies that they promote are detrimental to workers. He says the left is for the poor. And in their heart, they may be for the poor. They may have sympathy for the poor. They may try to effect policies that will help the poor. But their vision of helping the poor has always been detrimental to the poor. Welfare, specifically, and the welfare state in general, with Medicaid and Medicare, Social Security, public education, these things are disproportionately harmful to the poor. Especially, you know, Social Security and public schooling. But welfare, which is specifically designed in the realm of income for the poor, keeps those people poor for longer than they would be without it. He says the left has always had a strong tradition of being against racism, which I don't think is true in general. If you look at Karl Marx, he was virulently anti-Semitic. And traces of anti-Semitism and racism in general have followed the tradition of the left up into the modern day. But if you do want to say that the left is for the poor, against racism, the policies that they promote actually create more race antagonism with the quotas and the affirmative action and the preferential treatment and so forth. So it does nothing to alleviate the problem of racism in this country, but it exacerbates it. This is being for something in the abstract as a concept, but not in practical reality. You know, and what it is these people are only interested in these groups insofar as they promote their own causes, not the causes of the poor, not the causes of the workers, not the causes of the consumers, not the causes of the minorities, but they are for those categories, and they use those categories of people to fulfill their own goals and implement their own vision. Karl Marx said, the workers are nothing if not revolutionary. In other words, they were no good to him at all, unless they were revolting against the bourgeois. He had no interest in practically improving their lives other than to use them to expropriate the landowners. And it's the same way with politicians today. You know, if minorities serve no purpose other than to than to aggrandize or to raise somebody's political profile, well, then they're useless. Middle-class blacks are ignored by the left. They're totally ignored because it doesn't fit their agenda. Seeing blacks with upward mobility does nothing to promote the agenda of disadvantaged, exploited minorities that the left always wants to push on us. You know, non-union workers get no attention from the left because they don't promote the left's agenda. Consumers that want less regulation, they get no love from the left. The working poor, they get no attention from the left. It's the non-working poor that will help to promote the welfare state that get all the attention. The working poor get no attention from the left. It's because the left, if they are for these people at all, they are for them in the abstract as a concept. And when their actions and their situations in life don't line up with the agenda of those on the left, they'll be abandoned and they'll become largely useless to the left for anything. So that's being for something in the abstract, and it does no good. And in fact, it's highly hypocritical because most of the times the policies that these people promote to help these groups actually wind up hurting them even further if they really intended to use them for anything besides their own political gain in the first place.